Hello, my name is Crimpy Wheel, and welcome back to the Wheelhouse. It's been, a little while since I've done one of these. I've actually been on a trip, or I was on a trip, uh, this summer, to both South America and Mexico, which was definitely a very interesting trip. But before I start talking about that, as you can see, we got new gameplay. We got Trick Simulator right now. Obviously, I don't know if this will be the normal. I know I kind of recorded this before New Bloom Nexus came out. So I believe next episode should have Minecraft content, but once in a while we'll pull out a good old like simulator game. Like I got my truck simulator, I got my train simulator, I got my house flipper, I got car mechanic simulator. I got a lot of different type of games to try. So we'll kind of see. Play it by ear. Just guys, let me know kind of what you want to see. But based off of polls I've done, you guys are also interested in seeing this stuff. But anyways, let's kind of get into this story about this trip. Um, which funny fact actually about this. I so when I came back from Colombia, I think I was home for like 3 days, and I recorded kind of what I'm doing now about my South America trip. Once I was done with the recording, 10 minutes later, I get a call from my mom, and she tells me we're going to Mexico in like 2 to 3 days. And I'm like, huh? What? And like, yeah, we already bought the plane tickets. I'm like, what do you, we just got back. What do you mean? So that was definitely a fun experience. And if you're wondering what happened to that old recording, I accidentally deleted it. I was gonna actually use it for this podcast because I could just add the Mexico part after it, but oh well, I'm just kind of a dumbass. But anyways, let me talk about my trip to South America. It's been a little while, so I'm sorry if I kind of have to like sit and think about it. So, if you in South America, we went to Colombia, which is, by the way, my first time in South America. I've never been before. I have traveled the world a lot in the past, but I never been to South America. Definitely is a first for me. So pretty much, we flew into Bogota. So fun fact about Bogota, it's actually the biggest city in Colombia with a population of 8 million. So definitely, definitely a big city. It looks pretty much like your traditional kind of city. There wasn't anything special about it, but we flew in at we flew in early. I think it was 5 a.m. we flew in at. And so how kind of we got to Bogota is we went 4 hours from California to Texas, which is actually my first time in Texas. No, we didn't sleep on that plane because it's 4 hours, and then from there it was 4 hours to Bogota. The good thing is we did have first class, so it's kind of it was better, but we all only got like 1 hour sleep. So when we actually got into Bogota, I was like, oh, we're tired. So we ended up getting like a Holiday Inn like right next to the airport, and like just slept there until like 12, cause like we're just not, it's gonna be whatever. It was also very clear though when we came to the hotel. We kind of had breakfast before we went to our room. And fun fact about Colombia, they're known for good pastries. There's like a lot of very unique pastries. I know a lot of the time during the trip I had like bread and cheese. Like there's cheese in the bread. So that was kind of cool. Um, but some kind of more fun facts about Bogota, because we actually didn't stay in Bogota for long, but for the amount of time we did, there's a few things. So Bogota is a very, very famous city for graffiti. There's a lot of graffiti everywhere, and there's even like graffiti tours, which is very interesting. Um, but like a lot of like graffiti artists go there to make art. Like I guess Banksy even made something in Bogota, which is pretty cool fun fact. Another one which I've actually never heard of is about not being able to drive certain days. So I guess this has been a law in Bogota and also in Medellin. I don't know if it's everywhere in Colombia. So just for those places, I know for Bogota and Medellin, since 2014, they've made this law about license plate, where pretty much, like, let's say your license plate ends with an odd number. That means you can only drive on odd numbered days. And if your license plate ends in an even number, you can only drive on even number days. So I guess the point of kind of doing this was to, one, make sure to kind of cut down on pollution. So people would maybe take more public transport or take bikes. I think actually motorcycles actually didn't count with the license plate. So I think that was kind of like one workaround. But for that, and also to cut down on traffic, because Bogota just has really, really bad traffic. So it kind of, I mean, I don't know what it looked like beforehand, but there was still a lot of traffic. It didn't fully solve that problem, but it's definitely like kind of interesting seeing that. So if you wanted to like drive a car every day, you'd have to have one car with an odd number license plate and another one with an even number license plate. So very strange. Something else that was also very clear is from what I've seen, pretty much Colombia as a whole are very known for kind of loving their pets and their animals and being very accepting towards them, meaning like they can, like, a lot of animals can go into like restaurants or like public places where usually in the US they wouldn't allow it. But for here, they're like, they really, really love their animals. Like everywhere you can see dogs. Not like a certain breed of dog either. There are just multiple different types of dogs everywhere, and it was kind of insane. It was pretty cool though, seeing all the animals. Anyways, like I've said, we only stayed in Bogota for that kind of one day, but we kind of drove off at night, which in a very, really small car. Their cars are small there, like insanely small. So it kind of like sucks due to that reason, but it's, it was small. We could try to get the biggest car, but it was still very, very small. Actually, on the way to going to kind of this new place, I'm gonna keep it secret for now. We got dinner at this restaurant called, which by the way, it's Spanish. I don't know if you, for some reason, if you don't know this, people in Colombia speak Spanish, which actually isn't much of an issue because my dad pretty much speaks fluent Spanish, but I don't. I've actually failed my Spanish class a lot, so I'm gonna try to say the name of this restaurant. It's Andres Carne de Res. Definitely look it up and just see for yourself. But pretty much there's just all of these cool things in this small, like, packed restaurant. But like the restaurant's big. It's just really, it feels really small in there. And they had a lot of cool things. That's also when I figured out another thing about Colombia is they have a lot of, they're really into their fruit and like smoothies pretty much. So there's a lot of like different fruit options. In smoothies, there's, it's normal to have a smoothie at like every restaurant. And they have a lot of different flavors. Like a popular one that we don't really, like, we have in the US, but it's not normal, is like strawberry smoothie. And it's funny, at this restaurant, it actually came in bowls, like just like cereal bowls. Usually it comes in cups. They were just trying to be, they're trying to be different. But it was definitely a very fun restaurant. And that's also when, I kind of started eating beef. I ate a lot of beef during this trip. I think there is a lot of, I don't know if they're known for that, but there's a lot of like chicken and beef. They have like they have good food there, pretty much. That is pretty much what I'm saying. Anyways, after done with that, we stayed at this cool town called Again, Spanish. Via de Leyva. I probably said that wrong. I actually probably said that wrong. But pretty much it is 3 hours out from Bogota. And this is this really, really old town. And when we got there, it was like 10 o'clock. So it was definitely like, oh, where are we staying? Like the streets were just empty. I'm like, are we like this? Where? Huh? It was like cobbled roads and like old like looking houses. I'm like, oh no, are we gonna stay in somewhere that's like really like sketchy? It was actually a nice hotel though. It was like this. It was still in like the old building, but everything was really nice and it was even like a little bit above standard of your normal hotel room. Kind of when we woke up in the morning, not city, it's a town. Town was much more lively and stuff. It's a very tourist. It's not very touristy, but it's definitely a touristy destination. You know, you go there because it's cool. I'd definitely look up photos of it. Again, it's called Villa de Leyva. Leyva spelled Leyva. It's really nice, cool little town. And I think we stayed there for about like 3-ish days. Which, by the way, we were in Colombia for 2 weeks. So to kind of give you a time span of that. So when we woke up, I had breakfast in the Holiday Inn for the first time in Colombia, which was just bread. I'm like, okay, whatever. For me, breakfast is pretty important. Like if I'm gonna have breakfast, it has to be like waffles and bacon and pancakes or French toast sometimes. I'm not really an egg guy. A lot of everywhere in like South America, it's for breakfast. It's a lot of egg products. So at this hotel, literally everything had egg in it, besides one thing: beef stew for breakfast. So beef stew is a very popular breakfast item there, and it's literally what you think. It's kind of what you think. It's broth, normal broth with literally a chunk of meat in it. It was fine. I'm not really like a stew guy. The beef was okay too. It's like kind of whatever, but it was really just a chunk of meat in stew. It was definitely very interesting experience. I'm not, it's I definitely would be I wouldn't have that for breakfast. I would definitely not choose to have that for breakfast. So kind of we stayed in this town for a little bit. I know at one night they had this like big concert, which was kind of funny because the previous night it was like dead, like no one was out, but they had like a big loud concert. I'm like, holy, it was definitely interesting. But there's not too many interesting things to talk about during time in that town. What's actually more interesting is our trip back to Bogota. So on the way back to Bogota, we went through to a few places on the way. Somewhere that was really really close is a very touristy thing. Is a terracotta house. So like it was actually a house made of terracotta, which I believe they said it took 15 years to build because it's pretty much getting wet terracotta and kind of waiting for the seasons to kind of make it work. It definitely was very interesting. Like everything inside the house was made of terracotta. There wasn't really any like furniture like sinks, like obviously you need a real toilet, but it's pretty much like no one actually ever lived there. It was like, hey, let me see if this is possible, and it was. It was also very dangerous. You could pretty much like go to the roof of it, and there were just no railings. Like if you were in America, and this is gonna happen a lot when I explain this trip, is that safety. There's not much safety. It can be pretty easy to hurt yourself, but you just gotta kind of be careful. I know like the general consensus with South America, or not South America, but Colombia, is that it's a very dangerous country. It's actually not the case. It's actually very, it's very, it's fine. Like we didn't really see any, um, there's no violence. No one's like driving around with guns. No one's getting mugged. Obviously pickpocketing's kind of thing. I know in Bogota, some areas can kind of stay away with just due to pickpocketing being a very, very big thing. But it wasn't too much of an issue. It was, it's fine. After seeing the Terracotta House, we went to probably one of my favorite parts of the trip. We went into these salt caves. So there's these big salt caves, and in these caves, these miners made pretty much churches inside these caves, and like just massive crosses just everywhere. And apparently, I think only like 3 floors are kind of like open to the public, but there's like 20, I think, or 20 like around, probably a little less than that. I'm probably overshooting it a little bit, but there's a lot of floors to it apparently. This place is also called again, some of it's Spanish, the Zalt. Actually, I don't know if it's Spanish, but it's hard to pronounce. The Salt Cathedral of Zipaquira. I've looked that up. I looked it up. Roughly look it up. Hopefully, autocorrect will help you. But it's definitely really cool. Kind of just these massive caves. It was also kind of funny once we were fully through it. There was just people down there. Like there's ice cream. Like there's like multiple feet down under the ground. There's people just selling ice cream or food. There's literally like these full jewelry shops. Because I guess also in Colombia, or at least within those caves, emeralds are very easy to find. So there's a lot of like emerald jewelry that you could buy down there for some reason, which I don't know why you would, because it is definitely also a touristy thing. A local wouldn't go in there. But it was definitely very like, okay, this is, I don't know if anyone's buying any of this, but all right. Anyways, after that, we went back to Bogota, and we stayed, overnight. In the morning, we actually flew out of Bogota. So we flew, it was a 30-minute flight, which I think is actually the shortest flight I have ever been on. And we flew to Medellin, which is the second biggest population, second biggest city with a population of 2.6 million. So a lot less, with Bogota being 8 million. So Medellin is very different from Bogota. Medellin lies within a valley, pretty much. This nice kind of like big valley. And it's probably like one of the most beautiful cities I've been to, because nature is kind of like throughout the city. So we kind of stayed in this apartment on like the 25th floor, and we could see out through the whole city, and it's just like all these like tall buildings with like just trees everywhere. I know Sparrow compared it to Wakanda when I sent her a photo. Again, definitely look it up. It's just a very nice looking city. And just like when we were staying on, like, it was so beautiful. Even at night, it just didn't look real. It was awesome. But like actually, the city itself, like when it's very hilly. It is very, very hilly. So it's kind of hard to drive through, and a lot of the cars are actually stick shift, so it is a little bit difficult to drive in Medellin. And also there's a little bit of traffic. It's a city. There's always going to be traffic. What was I going to say? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Yeah, actually, I know what I say. So kind of where we stayed is we stayed near this mall, actually. So Medellin has really big malls for some reason. And the malls are, obviously, if you live in America, they are very similar to American malls. They just have like different, obviously different shops in it. They don't have the same shops as us. But it's like really, really big malls. And there's like, I know there's like a small little like theme park kind of in it. And it's just like massive, massive malls. So it was kind of that part was definitely cool in Medellin. Um, Another thing we actually did in Medellin is we went on a graffiti tour. So we didn't actually do one in Bogota, but we decided to do one in Medellin because this graffiti tour took us to, quote unquote, the most dangerous place on earth, or at least it used to be. Um, this is due to, I believe, Pablo Escobar and a lot of mafia stuff that was going on in Medellin, but has now, is not really present anymore. But overall, graffiti tour is pretty cool. We kind of went in the poor district of Medellin because Medellin, there is definitely it's much nicer. It's definitely there's part of the city that's like feels very wealthy, but there's also a part where it's very, very, very poor. And you see like very small houses close together. Kind of sketchy roads. That's kind of we did our tour. But it's really, really cool graffiti. And kind of went up one of the valleys, and I think it's quite a walk. I think we did a good few miles on that walk. And we went on like top and saw sunset and all that cool stuff. Actually, on the graffiti tour, we took a subway, and so to kind of give context of experience I've had with subways, I've been to subways in New York, I've been to subways in France. I've had my good experience with kind of subways, and Medellin probably has the cleanest subways ever, like ever. Like obviously it's a subway still. Like you shouldn't lick anything, but it was extremely clean. Like it was hard to see dirt. Like I believe they probably clean the subway like every night, which was crazy. And also, yes, there's a cable car. There's not snow. I believe maybe there's snow, but they just use a cable car for transportation. No, you don't use it for like sledding, or you aren't in Disneyland. It's just transportation. It's just like normal city transportation, which was just kind of crazy. Definitely not a normal thing, at least here in America. So it was very cool to see that. But overall, Medellin, it's not as touristy as a place. So a lot of the time, it's just kind of us exploring malls, kind of just chilling out. Actually, going back to transportation, for some reason, at least in Medellin and Bogota, Uber is just not. Uber's banned. For some reason, they have banned Uber, but so many people still use Uber. We used Uber like that whole entire time we were there, and it was kind of funny. I'm not sure how people kind of get in trouble. I don't know if it's I don't know who would get in trouble. I know it's not people who like. It might be the drivers. It's definitely not the people who are ordering the rides. They don't get in trouble. The people doing the drives, I think so, because kind of how people try to hide it is they have their passengers sit in front, so they kind of look like a friend, and not an Uber. So definitely, it's very interesting to kind of learn that. Anyways, we were kind of in Medellin for about a week. We kind of stayed, did some stuff, ate food, all that good stuff. Now, this is where the interesting thing happens. So, on my weekend, we decided that we were gonna go 3.5 hours out of Medellin to pretty much go to the countryside. Now, I'm pretty much gonna do like a say by say of like how say by say. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Maybe you know what I mean. We went to the countryside, just kind of stay there for the weekend. And I would say definitely this is a true, like, when you think of South America, like, oh, in the middle of the jungle, that is where we stayed. That is pretty much where we stayed. We stayed in the middle of the jungle. We stayed in this pretty small town. It was poor. It was a pretty poor-ish town. It wasn't Medellin, pretty much. You know, it wasn't Medellin. And we got this kind of like cabin, that was on like stilts. And it was a very simple cabin. Like, you walk in and you see in front of you is like the dining table. To the left is a kitchen, you know, all open, and then you have like 3 bedrooms. So like each one's a door. So like in the dining room, there's 3 doors that lead to the bedroom, and I think there's also a washer and dryer, and there was a bathroom. So we kind of, it was small. It was, again, it's better than a hotel, I think. But it was actually, here's one problem. It was hot. So to kind of give you temperature-wise how each place was, Bogota, it was like in the 70s, so like, okay, maybe kind of bring a jacket out. Medellin, okay, you know, it's like 80. I don't think a jacket's necessary. Where we were, 90, you know, 90 to almost 100, which is hot, you know. And it was very, very humid, too. And that kind of just, it was like, oh my god, we are gonna freaking die. They had AC though, so, and Wi-Fi, so it actually really wasn't the end of the world, but it was definitely very, very hot, and that's kind of something we had to deal with. So next morning, we wake up, and I guess for the weekend we hired personal chefs to kind of cook all our meals, get us drinks, etc. It was also pretty funny. Throughout our stay there, we also just had like random dogs coming in, and it wasn't like the same dog. It was just different dogs. I think we had like 5 to 7 different types of dogs walk through our house, because we didn't like, we had a door. It was like a sliding door kind of, but it was so strange. You know, we were really one with nature there. But yeah, anyways, we had personal chefs kind of cook for us, and I don't entirely remember what we ate, but it was pretty good food. You know, it was definitely better. It was definitely better food, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Now this is our first big adventure. So today was a very big day. I'd say it was probably the most eventful day in my whole South American trip. Actually, my whole trip entirely. This was probably the most adventure-packed day. So I was told, and I'm gonna make this clear, because so no one calls me a dumbass. I was told that we were going on a waterfall tour, and there's a river. So our where we're staying was off a river. So I thought, oh, we are getting on a boat, and we are driving around and seeing waterfalls. So I wore flip-flops. Because it was hot out. Why would I wear shoes? And also, we were told we were going, you know, swimming near one of the waterfalls. So I'm like, okay, yeah, flip-flops, swim trunks, you know, we're all good. You know, that is what I'm wearing today. So kind of keep that in mind. That's what I was wearing. So we kind of walk over to this boat. So it's not like a nice tour boat. It's not. It's pretty much it's like a very small, cheap boat with like one of like the normal motors. Like when you think of like a normal small boat, like think of a rowing boat. It was a rowing boat, but instead of paddles, it had a motor on the back. That's what it was. So very, very small, and there's pretty much lawn chairs on there that we just sat in, and that was it. So, and then we're kind of on our way, and to kind of explain how the river looked and going down it, imagine Jungle Cruise in Disneyland or Disney World. Imagine that, but imagine the trees are a little bit bigger, and imagine the river is a little bit bigger. That's what we were experiencing. Except there wasn't as many animals. Well, if you can call the Jungle Cruise having real animals, you know, I'm not sure if they're entirely real. But I actually was afraid of one animal, of encountering one. So, kind of the previous day, my dad and his friends were talking about how somehow, I guess in South America, someone was transporting hippos, and they got out. So they got out and they kind of repopulated, and now hippos are in South America. And they're not necessarily like too dangerous, as long as you don't bother them. But at the end of the day, they're hippos. So going into the river in pretty much the middle of the jungle, I thought we were gonna freaking encounter a hippo. So I was kind of like on edge for a while, but then I realized we are in super shallow water. Like, it was definitely very, very shallow. Like the boat got stuck sometimes, and we had to like be slow because the boat would be hitting like the bottom. So that fear kind of went away. So I'm like, okay, cool. We're on this nice river. I wonder what the first waterfall we're going to see. Pretty much, the boat goes up. After like about like 15, 20 minutes of just going on the water, we go onto the side of the bank, and people start getting out. I'm like, huh? Oh, are we like? Is it just like, like right here? Are we just walking? Like a few feet to the waterfall? No. I wish. I wish that it was. We had to hike in a South American jungle, and about for like a mile or two. It was a mile or two hike in the jungle. Now let me remind you what I am wearing. I am wearing flip-flops and swim shorts. Now, you might think I'm exaggerating, like, oh, I've been hiking before. Whatever. If you wear flip-flops, okay, it's a little bad. There was no trail. Like, there was kind of like the locals kind of made one, but not really. There's like remnants of like stone there that is kind of like stairs, but it's not. It was walking through the middle of the jungle and just following the guide. I know we kind of got stuck in like mud. We had to climb over trees. Like, literally, like, think Lion King, when he's growing up, walking across that log. That's what we were doing. Yeah, there's like little like stone walls where like you have to do like one foot after the other because like you just can't fit on there, and you had to balance or you would fall and hurt yourself pretty badly. We also had to like go across like cliffs, like kind of, yeah, cliffs. So like, on the edge of a cliff, pretty much. What is a good example of this? If you played a Tomb Raider game, I think you know what I mean. I don't know if that's the best example, but if you played a Tomb Raider game, you know what I mean. Like, your back is against like the cliff wall, and you're just having to do like shimmy across it. That's what we had to do. Again, I was in flip-flops, and I was in shorts. Even though it's like a mile or two, like, oh, whatever, it's just a mile. No, it fucking sucked. It was hell. It was actually hell. And we also didn't have bug repellent. Oh, we did, but for some reason we didn't use it. So there's also mosquitoes. Eventually, we got to the waterfall. The waterfall with, we kind of swam in. So we were there for like probably 20, maybe 30 minutes. Just kind of had a nice swim next to this waterfall. It was a whatever waterfall, it was like, it was a waterfall. It was very, very small waterfall. It wasn't a big waterfall. It was like, okay, that's a waterfall, but we just had to walk through a jungle to get here. Was that worth it? I don't know. And we had to walk back. So once we were done, we had to walk back and do that all over again and get back on the boat. Now, this is probably the worst part of the trip. And this was actual hell, but I'm glad I did it just to say, yeah, I walked through a South American jungle. I was Indiana Jones in the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was me. I did that. You know what? I think Indiana Jones had it easier than me. Actually, to be fair, he kind of did. He did have it easier for me. Imagine, like, the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, but a lot worse. That's what I had to deal with. But eventually, let's kind of move on from that. We got back in the boat, and we kind of went off to this nice little beach area. The people, our tour guides, they found like 4 sticks just lying around. They kind of put them in the sand and make sure they're there, and they brought a big piece of wood that they found, and they just laid on top of it and just made a table. And that is where we just had. They also brought like some food wrapped in like a big leaf. It's got like meat and rice, pretty much. So it was, it was good food. It was actually pretty good food. But it was definitely, very interesting experience. But it was kind of funny. They just like randomly made a table. After that, probably actually my favorite part about this whole day. They had these rafts, kind of like normal, and like single person tube rafts. And pretty much they gave like each one of us like, okay, we are going to float home. So literally in lazy river style, we floated along this massive river down back home. And, it was definitely pretty funny. Because we're just like chilling, and we're just like honestly, best lazy river I've ever done. It was literally just a lazy river. So, very, very interesting experience. Anyways, that once we got home, that was kind of the day over. That was kind of it. Next day though, the chaos didn't end. It was a lot less chaos, but it was still chaos. So, next to where we were staying, there were some abandoned train tracks. They just didn't use anymore. Like they're still like fine train tracks, just no train went through it anymore. So the locals use it. Now here is what the locals have decided to do. They have decided to get a piece, like a plank of wood, just a flat plank of wood. They take that and they put wheels on the bottom of it. Okay? We're all good right now? They put wheels on the bottom of it. Says. They take that and they put it on the train track. Whatever. Then they then take lawn chairs and they put that on top of that plank of wood. These lawn chairs aren't drilled on, by the way. And that'll be important in a second when I explain what else is needed. They then take a second piece of wood and they put the wheels on it and they put it on the track, whatever. But they do something different this one. They don't put lawn chairs on this one. That's stupid. Why would you do that? They take a motorcycle and they make it so the back wheel is like on one side of the track, so it's like touching the actual like rail of the train track. And they only make it so the back is on it. Now, they take the plank with the lawn chairs and they put that in front of the one with the bike. And they literally use a motorcycle to kind of, as an engine, it's like a small train. And we go at pretty good speed. So it's pretty much people just going down, just sitting in lawn chairs on a piece of wood, while another one behind them, which is connected to a motorcycle, makes them go along the train track. So, and again, these lawn chairs aren't nailed down. I literally watched them put the lawn chairs on. They're like, okay, get on. Like, huh? What do you... I'm sorry, what? So, I guess our weight kept us on, but it was extremely dangerous. And after the fact, they told us, like, oh, yeah. No, people have gotten hurt. We tried to go slower. I'm like, that was going slow? We were going, like, we were going fast. It felt fast. It was definitely very, very scary experience, but also kind of cool. Again, it's like another thing, like, yeah, I've done that. But except I think I might do that one again. Just not any faster, let's keep the speed low. So just definitely, I'm ready to do that in real life now. That'll be a good vlog moment. But definitely never allowed in America. Definitely not. Anyways, after that was kind of our full experience with the countryside. So we started to go back to Medellin. Now this is kind of like our last big thing we did in South America, in Colombia. On the way back, we passed by where Pablo Escobar's house used to be, and he had this really, really big estate, a lot of acres of land. I want you to guess. I want you to guess what they turned that estate into. So his house is gone. You know, they destroyed their house. It's not there anymore. Instead, they replaced it with a zoo and a water park. Now, I kind of forgot the name of this place, so you'd have to kind of like do your own research about this place, but it's massive. Like, for some reason, just driving in, like, we drove through the front gates. It took us 10 minutes of driving, of driving without traffic. There was no traffic. Traffic, it doesn't exist. You know, going probably 40 miles per hour. It took us like 10 minutes just to get to the ticket gate, to like purchase our ticket. While we were in the property. So yeah, you know, that was something. Pretty much we also had to like drive around the zoo to see the different exhibits. The animals had really, really big pens. You know, we saw elephants, we saw lions, you know, kind of your normal zoo type stuff. It was actually kind of funny, though, is that they have, like, a lot of just fake animals kind of lying around. They're just, like, it's just like statues. I'm like, are they trying to trick people? Like, oh, is that an animal? Oh, no, it's not. It's just a fake zebra. It's, obviously, we also saw some hippos. So, you know, confirmed, hippos are in South America. Which really isn't saying much, in a zoo. The water park we didn't actually visit, though. We actually only visited the zoo part. But the water park, you know, it was decent. It was decently nice. It was a pretty big water park. And there's different mini water parks throughout the big park. And guess again, everything had to be like you had to drive to everywhere. Nothing was in walking distance. You were like always just like in the car. It also seemed like they were making some sort of like normal like it's kind of like carnival small little rides, like small little log flume or like small little roller coaster where like if you go to a fair they'd have it there. It looked like they had that section, but they're still working on it. So they just had so much to expand on. There's two resorts in there too. Like it was Disneyland. I think I believe I checked this, but I believe it's bigger than Disneyland. Which I don't know if that's saying much, but it's bigger than Disneyland. So to kind of give you some sort of, let me look it up. I'm gonna have to look this up. So Pablo Escobar theme park. Yeah. So the place is called Hacienda Nápoles. So let me see. How many acres? So, Hacienda Nápoles has nearly 5,000 acres. Disneyland, on the other hand, acres. 500. So, yeah, no, it's definitely bigger than Disneyland. 5,000 acres versus 500 at Disneyland. Let's see how Disney World. I think Disney World's probably closer to like the size of oh yeah, Disney World. Okay, Disney World has 27,000 acres. That's not a okay. We can't really compare it to Disney World. It's Disney World. Okay, they fit so many freaking parks in Disney World and like water parks. Okay, it's different. But compared to Disneyland though, 500 acres versus 5,000 acres. It's a definitely, you know, definitely an interesting place, you know. Definitely, you know, I'm glad I was able to have that experience. Anyways, after that, we went back to Medellin. I think the next day we flew home to Bogota. And then I think we stayed another night in Bogota, and we went back home. And then, like I've already said, we kind of stayed for 3 days. Told we're going to Mexico, and 3 days later, we left for Mexico. Um, oh my god. Okay, so Mexico doesn't have as much to talk about, so kind of so you don't have to like worry. We're not going to be here for another what? We've been going for 45 minutes. We won't be here another 45 minutes. Mexico. We were only there for a week, and it was like pretty much beach the whole time. So we went to specifically Mexico. We went to again. I might butcher this. I'm sorry. Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta. There we go. Nice little beach town. It's a beach town. It's a beach town in Mexico. There's tacos. We had a lot of tacos. It was all tacos. That was every meal. Every meal is tacos. Actually, a surprising thing about Puerto Vallarta is there's a lot of English speakers. So me and my family have gone to Mexico a lot, like too much. Like I think we deserve to be a citizen of Mexico for the amount of time we have been to Mexico. And seeing like other people speaking English like out of the U.S. is weird to me. I mean, unless I'm in freaking the UK. I'm like, okay, makes sense. But anywhere else, it's weird for me. And just seeing like everyone, like there are so many people speaking English. Like it was just a very, very touristy town. And it was just beach. The beach actually kind of sucked there though. There was like rocks, like in the beach. It was like, oh, this kind of sucks. Like, why are we gonna do this? So we actually only stayed in Puerto Vallarta for only so much. I then after a few days, I think I forgot how long the drive was, but it was like an hour or two drive out of Puerto Vallarta. I don't know to where. I don't. It's another small town, but I don't remember the name of it for the life of me. So sorry about that. But it is pretty much kind of like just a lot nicer beaches. It's pretty much what it was. Like that is the summary for my Mexico trip. Beach. A fun thing about this new town though is you can rent a golf cart and just like kind of ride around, drive around like the town and shit. So we kind of had golf carts. The thing that sucked though is like the streets were like cobbled, and dude, it hurt our feet just to walk. In Mexico, just like I think both towns had cobbled roads, so it was very, with flip flops. Ooh, it wasn't the best. At least it wasn't as bad as walking through the South American jungle, but it wasn't good either. I prefer my asphalt. Thank you very much. my good old asphalt. But yeah, so the golf cart was definitely, I thought we would almost break it, but we didn't. Another funny thing actually about Mexico is for some reason there's just so many fucking crabs. I don't know why. There was just crabs everywhere. Like I remember one time I sent a video to Mountain Sparrow. There was just like maybe 10 to 15 crabs just crawling through these bushes, and they're big crabs. I'm not talking about little small itty bitty crabs. Like, yes, there are some of them, but I'm talking about massive ass crabs. I'm like, holy fuck. Like, what happened here? Why are there so many crabs? It was just like, huh, okay. Anyways, that was Mexico, pretty much. After that, we went home. So, in total, I'd like to say we were on vacation for a month, which is probably the longest I have been on vacation. And was it cool? Was it cool experience all this stuff? Of course, it's cool, especially like seeing South America. Yeah, maybe every day wasn't the best, but it was fun. It was fun. It's cool to say like, hey, you know what? I have had that experience. That's just kind of like sick to say. But we were gone for way too long. Like for me, how my brain works is like, yes, especially now I've been learning. Like I definitely do need time away from the house because when I'm at the house, I'm working on YouTube the whole entire time. I'm doing YouTube stuff. Or I'm working on New Bloom. Like I know for these past few days I've just been helping set up for Nexus. Or I'm doing something working towards either YouTube or New Bloom. It's never, it's barely like, oh, I'm playing video games or I'm watching a movie. Like sometimes I do that, but it's not majority of the time. So I definitely do like taking those times away so I can clear my brain. I'm like, okay, I'll come back, boom, all right, I'm ready to work. But just going away from a month, I'm like, dude, I just want to be home, especially like during summer. I'm like, this is my summer. We're gonna hit 1K subs. Maybe I guess technically it's still possible to hit 1K subs this summer, but well, we'll see. I gotta put out some banger videos. Subscribe. Um, but it was just definitely like it kind of sucked, being home away from home for so long. Um, but I'm glad to the experience. I've traveled a lot in the past. Definitely this is like the first big trip since COVID. Because as soon as COVID hit, like you're not traveling, like you're not going anywhere. Like I think like every night, like we travel I think every summer, but even more than that, every year before that. So yeah, like I've been to Mexico, like I've said. I've been to in the U.S. I've not really been anywhere, but I've been like Florida. I've been to Oregon once. Outside, I've really been around Europe. I've been to Italy. I've been to France. I've been to Thailand. That was an interesting trip. But I've been to all these great places, so it's kind of like just cool saying I've been to those places. But definitely, it's like I don't want to be gone for so long. And also, the new places are scary, especially when you can't speak the language. Like I've been to London. I'm like, okay, this place is cool. They can understand me. I can understand them. Whatever, cool, pretty cool place with the like just old buildings, which aren't a bad thing. Sometimes they are, but they aren't horrible. Definitely not as boring as here in America, where all our buildings are, or not all, but most of our buildings are like copy and paste. At least it feels like that. Especially like strip malls. Dude, freaking strip malls. Um, anyways, I do maybe plan to do another episode where I kind of talk about those past trips, kind of talk more about my experience with them. If you guys kind of enjoy this episode, but if you also have any questions about traveling, or if there's somewhere in the world that you kind of want to learn more about, kind of let me know. I'll answer some questions if I ever do an episode like that in the future. But definitely, I have a lot of fun travel stories. I've been places. In some places, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting places. Anyways, I think that is all I have for now. We got a good hour episode here. Something that's not too common, or at least I hope. It's actually, there's not too many episodes that's hard to base off of. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it there for now. If you have any questions more about South America or Mexico, also let me know. I'll answer them. If I do another episode. But I just want to say thank you for watching this episode of the Wheelhouse, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.